So I figured out I might as well do something else on my channel than just play games, and that's why I'm bringing you guys this kind of video. By no means it's a review video. I'm not going to review anything, as it would mean that I would have to actually rate everything about the work I'm talking about. To be honest, I don't even know how to review a thing, never been there, never done that. But if I'm not reviewing, then what am I doing, right? Well, I'm naming this corner the Talkabout. In this corner, I will talk about any kind of show, game, movie, anime, or even music album I would deem for some reason worthy. Or maybe unworthy, who knows. I might talk about some work that I found terribly displeasing too. So while it not being review, I might just give you guys kind of I recommend it seal of approval, but at the same time it mainly will be just me talking about more or less related stuff. Okay, so we have intro already behind us, so we might as well focus on the real deal. For a first installment, a very big word of this corner, I'm gonna go with Boku inai machi, which is a quite fresh anime from the last season, or season before that, if I remember correctly. The main premise of this show is that the main character named Satoru, who is 28 years old, has a special ability that lets him travel back in time to fix some kind of accident or tragic event that happened just a minute ago. Think about going back in time to save a kid from a car accident, for example. The catch is he doesn't really always know what happened, and he doesn't control his power. It all just happens. Suddenly he finds himself back in past and he needs to quickly assert the situation and then fix it. While I say he needs to do it, I don't really mean that something bad will actually happen to him if he doesn't. He will fully choose to act and save people from their more or less tragic destiny. He doesn't even sound too interested in it, which might make us wonder why he even does that. But as future episodes of show tell us, he's basically a good guy. Not a hero, a Superman, but just a guy who can help others and who acts on that. Think about yourself. If you knew about a certain accident that's going to happen in a few minutes, would you just keep quiet about it? Well, maybe there are some people who would choose to do so, but basic human thought, human instinct, would be to try to help. At least, I want to think that like that, about us. The real story behind this anime is that in the first episode we learn that sometime in the past of Satoru's main character, few girls were murdered and a guy, who Satoru didn't believe that was culprit, was accused of killing them. Soon enough, in Satoru's time, his mother is killed and he's being framed for it. At that time, main character experiences his longest travel in time and he ends up back when he was still going to school. He believes that this is the point in which he needs to act to save his mother and those other girls that were killed at that time. So, would the killer of all of them be the same guy? I'm a sucker for time travel stories, I won't lie. I'm a huge Doctor Who fan, and story that seems to be about those kind of occurrences catches my attention quite quickly. Funny story is I started watching Boku inai machi believing it's going to be a romance school story. Blame me for not reading story synopsis, right? And that's exactly why I'm not going to review series. No, I can't be really objective about the story since that shock about it being not what I thought it will be affects my outlook. But I did like the experience of being shocked, so I can actually take much more from the story than I thought I would. What was really interesting for me while not being the main thing we should be concerned in this story was Satoru's speech pattern when he turned back to being a kid. Think about it. If you went back in times, back to when you were still in school, would you be able to behave exactly like you were behaving back in the days? I think I wouldn't be able. After so many years, I'm just not the same person I was back then. My view on things changed, my ideals changed, my whole life made me think differently than at that point, and it should show somehow in my speech pattern. I think people would quickly catch on me not being quite the same. Especially if, like in case of a show, 29 years old man would become 10 years old boy, if I remember correctly. 19 years of that difference should make it show, and more often than once, to be honest. It's really puzzling for me that only one other boy were able to catch on it. Also for me, it felt like Satoru had no problem acting like he really was 10 years old. It's not really that much about his surrounding, but himself too. I didn't really feel like he was not natural for a kid. Of course, in anime you always have it, kids behaving like they are older. 10 years old behave like 15 years old. 15 years old behave like 18 years old. I don't really dislike that, but at the same time it can be quite strange. Also, what always infuriates me to no end is that people coming back to past from future rarely even try to explain that to other people. I get it, people wouldn't believe you, people would think you're crazy, but seriously, why just not try? I would definitely try convincing others that I really am not lying about that stuff. I would try to make them see that I really came back from the future. I would talk about stuff that will happen from now on. I will make them believe me. Or maybe not even them, but just one person, just one person. In this case, for example, Satoru's mother. Why just not try? Still, it's probably just me being picky right now. It's not like those things made me angry about the show or anything like that. It was quite the opposite. I enjoyed the fact that we somehow had two planes of action, Satoru's present and Satoru's past. We kinda got to see both of those because few episodes were about him here and few about him there. That way we kinda got a story about grown-up men having to deal with really serious threat of, being put in prison and losing his mother, while we still had a story about kids who were trying to save other kids. Two different perspectives made it so much more interesting. I'm only left guessing if more of those transitions between those two times would make show more interesting, but it's still okay. Maybe the show would become too jangled up if that were to happen. On the side note, I was constantly trying to figure out which one would Satoru choose in the end, Kaya or Airi, even considering how little time did Airi get in the show, which might be a serious complaint for some people. It's just my thing, I always try to create pairings for characters and some works better, some worse. In this case, both girls seemed like interesting picks for him, but in different times, and that made it so much more interesting. Especially considering the ending of the show. What I also liked about the show was that it wasn't just your regular let's go against bad guy kind of happy story. It was much more darker, more brutal, and I wouldn't even recommend watching it to younger audience, really younger. I believe that anime in the end is designed for younger audience, but there are shows that you can safely watch to your 6-7 years old cousins or siblings, and there are shows that kinda require a bit of maturity to actually enjoy or for people to get emotionally invested. In the end, I'm a person who often judges any story by either the amount of tears I shed or by emotion and feelings I felt while watching. And I'm pleased to say that I had few of the moments where my emotions were screaming at me. Once I felt such an anger at certain characters, I was literally gritting my teeth, other time I almost cried at the one scene. And it's stuff like that that I need to enjoy my show. Is this title realistic, would someone say? And I would answer with, in a way it is, in a way not really. Would Satoru's own mother let him do as he pleased, not asking any questions or caring about his well-being? I'm unsure. Can't deny the possibility of a person who would act like that and let her son have so much freedom. I even somehow find it charming, even though I'm not really a believer in this part. On the other hand, his mother is just awesome, especially if you read manga on which this show is based. Back to the point though, the ending isn't really that believable too. Some of the characters' actions just seem a bit silly, including the actions of show's main villain. There's many unanswered questions here sadly. Why did the bad guy become bad guy? How did the main hero acquire his superpower? Superpower? What the hell? Is it like a power connected with food? I don't know. With his superpower. Those are either unanswered or answered too shallowly to be really called answers. The ending. Well, there's a little problem right here, as I mentioned before. The anime is based on manga and up till the last 2 episodes it makes for a good show. The thing is, the last 2 episodes are just rushed as opposed to manga. While comic provides readers with more information, it also makes the whole ending more believable. It also explains a lot more than the anime, which is lacking few quite crucial scenes. While I still had fun with anime when I learned about the manga ending, I read it, and I can safely say that there is so much more to the story than what we got in the anime. If you will have time to read few last chapters of it too, by all means do that. It explains many things and fills some of the plot holes. Still, I just love the last few seconds of the show, even without that manga knowledge. Rooftop scene was over-dramatized though, yet still made for an interesting thing to watch. So yeah, this was me talking about Boku dake ga inai machi. In my opinion, give it a watch. I really doubt you're going to feel like you wasted time with this show. Just don't go into it expecting an awesome detective-ish kind of story. It's more about kids struggling to somehow save a friend from being killed than about actually finding out who was the killer. Though that of course is solved in the end too. And it has some heavier elements so for people who would like to watch something a bit more serious, this one seems quite a good choice. At least that's what you will hear from me. And now I'm signing off. Bye.